And if I could do it with a big can, the explosion would probably be as big as a grenade. How cool would that be? Oh, yeah, it would be dangerous, which is why I wouldn't actually do it, but if I were a bit more reckless, then I'd do it in a second. Yep, and just imagine what it would look like. It'd be so loud and bright, and the can would just blow up with a big bang. Oh, I'd love to see that. But unfortunately, I'm not the type of kid to do something that dangerous. My mom would not approve, so I just have to keep this as a fun thought of a what if. Anyways, let's move on from fun but dangerous thoughts to something else I've tried. Have you ever tried to build a working volcano? Really? Well, you should try it. It's actually pretty easy. I've built tons that work amazing. Even made a few that were so realistic it looked like a real volcanic eruption. Trust me, it looks super cool. All you need is a soda bottle, baking soda, vinegar, and red food coloring, and boom, you got yourself a working volcano! Oh, it's amazing. You add the baking soda to the bottle, then add the vinegar and a drop or two of food coloring, then the volcano just erupts like crazy. It's amazing how it works. But that's not the only eruption experiment I've tried. There's one that involves a balloon and water. You want to hear about that one? All right, I can get you're tired of hearing so many, so this one will be the last one. You ready to hear it? Okay, so here's how this one goes. Take a balloon and fill it with water until it's really full. Then, place the balloon on a flat surface. Then, add just a little bit off dish soap just around the area where the opening is and let the balloon sit for a second. Yeah, that's all you have to do, isn't it? It's so simple. Yeah, I know. Now, what you'll want to do is wait just a few seconds. After it sits for just a few seconds, the balloon will pop and the water will fly everywhere. It sounds simple, but it's actually a pretty fun way to watch water shoot everywhere. And of course, the popped balloon just adds to the mess. Yep, that's all there is to it. You add some soap to a balloon, wait a few seconds, and boom, a little mess and a broken balloon. Oh, okay then. Have a nice evening then, and I hope you had fun listening to some of my experiments. Bye. At around midday, Dell was in his room, currently sitting at his desk, reading over some science notes he had taken. He continued flipping through notes until his sister, Dee, knocked on the door. He turned around in his chair, face. Dee opened the door, and she walked in. She had a slightly worried look on her face. Dell tilted his head, a bit confused. "What's up? You look worried." Dee walked up to him and sat on his bed. "There's something I want to talk to you about." Dell got somewhat concerned at that. He closed the notes and got out of his chair, walking over to sit down on the bed with Dee. "What is it?" Dee sighed, looking down at the ground as if she was nervous to say something. Dell scooted a bit closer. "Dee, what is it? You can tell me anything." Dee hesitated more, before she finally spoke up. "Promise you won't get mad at me?" Dell's concern grew more. "Yeah, Dee." Dee took another deep breath, before she finally looked at Dell. Her expression was nervous. "Promise you won't get mad at me no matter what? Even if it's something really bad?" Dell was really concerned at this point. "Dee, just tell me what it is. I promise I won't get mad, no matter what it is. Now come on, just tell me." Dee was still reluctant, but eventually, she spoke up. "I have to tell you something. Something that you definitely won't like, and you'll probably get mad at me even more than usual." Dell was now beginning to slightly worry. "Dee, please, just tell me. I won't get mad no matter what you say, okay? I promise." Dee sighed sadly, before she looked right at him. "I did something really bad, Dell." Dell tried his best to stay calm. "What, Dee? What did you do?" Dee didn't say anything for a minute before she slowly spoke up. I I broke one of your science experiments, and it was your favorite too." Dell immediately became angry, his eyes widening. "What?" Dee winced as he raised his voice before she spoke again. "I am really sorry, I didn't mean to. It was an accident." Dell stood up, now glaring at her. You broke one of my favorite experiments. What did I tell you about not touching my stuff? You promised you wouldn't touch my stuff after last time." Dee looked down at the ground, ashamed. "I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to. I just bumped into the shelf and a couple of the bottles broke. I'm really sorry." Dell's fists clenched, now enraged. "What were those bottles for, huh? You know I'm always using them. Why were you even near them in the first place? I told you to stay out of my room." Tears started to fill her eyes as he yelled, "I'm really, really sorry. I thought you wouldn't mind if I went in there to grab something. I didn't mean to break anything. I'm sorry, I'm truly sorry." "You thought I wouldn't mind? Are you insane? You promised you wouldn't touch my stuff. You promised you wouldn't go into my room. Now some of my best experiments are gone because you broke them." Dell and Dee stop arguing and look up. What the? There in the middle of the room was a small glowing orange orb. The thing was just floating in midair, moving around a little bit. Dell and Dee both stared in shock. "What the hell is that?" They both watched as the orb just continued to float around, glowing brighter by the second. Suddenly, the orb started to move right towards them. Both of them immediately backed away, shocked and frightened. Dell and Dee moved back against the wall, still watching the orb float around. What the heck is it doing? What does it want? Before they could react, the orb suddenly floated right to them, stopping just inches away from their faces. Both of them froze, staring at the orb in pure shock and fright. It was now so close to their faces that they could feel its warmth. Dell was too intimidated by the orb to speak, and just kept staring at it. The orb just kept floating there. It almost looked like it was trying to get their attention, or even wanted to talk to them. Dell and Dee cautiously look at each other, both of them feeling too scared to make a move. Slowly, Dell tried to reach out towards the orb, his hand trembling as he did so. The orb didn't do anything, it just continued to float there, the glow growing brighter the closer Dell's hand came to it. Dee watched this, her nervousness increasing more and more. Dee, be careful. Dell didn't respond, still focused on the orb. His trembling hand grew closer and closer to the orb, until finally, he touched it. As soon as his skin came into contact with the orb, the room was suddenly filled with a blinding bright light. Dee shielded her eyes from the brightness, crying out at how bright it was. Dell was almost blinded from the light, he too shielding his eyes. Eventually, the light began to slowly fade away. Dell and Dee cautiously removed their hands from their eyes before slowly opening them. When Dell and Dee opened their eyes, their vision was still slightly blinded from all the light. But soon after, they looked around the room and got their vision back, only to discover something shocking. Their surroundings looked completely different. The bed was gone, the desk was gone, the entire bedroom was gone, in fact, the entire house was gone. Dell and Dee were in pure disbelief, their eyes wide with shock. They both looked around quickly, trying to figure out where they were. They were currently standing in the middle of a grassy plains-looking area. The ground was a mixture of grass and dirt, and there were mountains in the distance. Dell and Dee looked up at the sound, shocked to see a pair of small, brown rabbits hopping towards them. The rabbits stopped in front of the two kids, looking at them with curious eyes. This was the first form of life they'd seen since they had suddenly appeared in this weird place. Dell was the first one to speak. What the... He was still trying to comprehend what was currently going on. The rabbits tilted their heads, their noses twitching. Suddenly, one of them hopped over to Dell, sniffing his leg. Dell looked down at the rabbit, still shocked. The rabbit finished its inspection of his leg, before it sat down on its backside. Dee was still staring blankly at the rabbits in disbelief. Are we dreaming? Dell shook his head before he spoke. No, this is definitely real. I don't think this could happen in a dream. Devin had just gotten home from school. He was currently sitting on the couch, watching TV while eating a snack. As he was eating, he heard a knock at the front door. He groaned. He didn't want to answer the door. He just wanted to keep eating and watching TV. He waited a few seconds to see if the person at the door would just go away. When he heard yet another knock, he sighed and placed the snack down on a side table. He stood up and grumbled a bit, before lazily walking over to the front door and opening it. When he opened the door, he was surprised to discover that on the other side was a man. He was pretty average-sized, with dark brown hair and black-rimmed round glasses. The man smiled and spoke up. "Hello there." Devin was slightly shocked by this, and stood still for a moment before speaking up. The man kept his smile up as he spoke. "Is your mom or dad home? I need to speak to them." The man nodded. "Okay then, thank you." He was just about to turn around to walk away when he stopped himself and looked back at Devin. "Hey, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?" The man chuckled a bit. He then spoke up. Let me guess. I think you're around 10, am I right?" The man nodded. "I thought so. You look around that age." He then seemed to remember something, and his smile faded a bit. The man hesitated for a second, before he spoke up. Can I ask you something?" The man took a breath. This might be a bit odd, but can you tell me if your parents own any small, orange, glowing orbs?" The man nodded. He gave a surprised look. Yes, that's right. How'd you know?" The man went silent for a moment. His eyes slightly widened. He then spoke again. "Wait, have you heard from them at all? Have they talked to you? Or have you seen them anywhere?" The man took his glasses off and rubbed his eyes. "Damn it, this isn't good." The man nodded, a look of slight worry on his face. Yes, that's what happens. It's never been a problem before, but this is bad. The man was about to say something when both of the kids heard a female voice from inside the house. Steven, honey? Who is it at the door? Steven's mother appeared in the hallway, looking at him. She was an average-sized woman with black hair. Why does he want to speak to us? Steven's mother looked surprised. He knows about the orb? Steven's mother's expression went from surprised to alarmed. How does he know about that? Steven's mother nodded, before she looked at the man through the doorway. You can come in. We can talk in the living room. The man nodded, and stepped through the doorway. Steven watched as he walked with his mother into the living room, still holding the snacks he had picked up earlier. As soon as they reached the living room, they took. The man took a deep breath before he spoke up. I was the one who made it. That's how I know about it. Steven's mother's eyes widened. She didn't expect this answer. She was completely surprised. The man nodded. He looked slightly embarrassed. Yes, I made it. I didn't mean for it to work like this. I just made it as a science experiment. Steven's mother suddenly looked slightly concerned. The man shrugged. I didn't expect it to teleport anyone to a different place. I just thought it was just going to be a glowing orb, that's all. Devon was still listening to the conversation, the box of snacks now sitting half empty on the couch next to him. Steven's mother nodded, her face showed skepticism. Is that all you expected it to do? Just glow? That's it? It wasn't supposed to do anything else? Dell and Dee were still wandering in the plains. They still had no idea where they were. They'd both taken off their backpacks. Dee sighed as they kept walking. I'm not sure. This place is huge. We'll probably never find our way home. Both Dell and Dee, who were still in the middle of walking through the grassy plains, suddenly found themselves back in their front yard. They both looked around, baffled, as they stood next to the fence. Dell was the first one to speak. He spoke slowly. Was I hallucinating, or did we just get home somehow? Dell reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He looked at the screen. Huh. He answered his phone and put it to his ear. Dell's expression immediately changed from baffled to surprised. Dude, how the hell did you do that? Dell seemed surprised, but he didn't get angry. Well, thank you, I guess. But how'd you find out why we were teleported in the first place? Dell's eyes widened. The mention of the orange orb made him slightly nervous. Really? Someone actually told you what happened? Who was it? Dell gasped upon hearing this. He was even more surprised now. Wait. So you actually talked to the person who made the orb? Dell nodded, his expression now slightly concerned. Yeah, we figured that out after we got teleported to that weird place. Dell paused for a moment before he spoke up again. Hey, by the way, how did you figure out how to teleport us back home, anyway? Dell's expression now turned to confusion. Your created device? Wait, you created a device to teleport stuff? Dell was silent for a second. He seemed impressed. Damn, dude, I didn't know you could do that. How the hell did you even make that? Dell nodded, still impressed by Devin's accomplishment. Well, you definitely are smart. How long did it even take to make this thing? Dell's eyes widened even more. 15 minutes? You made that in 15 minutes? Dell let out a sigh and smiled. Damn. You're a genius, no doubt about it, dude. Dell paused for a second before he spoke up again. Wait, can you only use this device to teleport people to their homes? Or can you make it teleport other things too? Dell nodded. He seemed to be thinking about something. I see. I'm guessing that'd be useful if you ever lose something, right? Dell sat silent for a moment before he spoke up. Hey, is there other stuff the device can do? Or is teleporting just the only thing it's capable of? Dell nodded, slightly disappointed. Oh, okay, I see. Dell paused for a moment before a thought occurred to him. You said that you created this device. How would you even come up with the idea to make something like this? Anyway, Dell's eyes widened slightly. He looked a bit surprised. Wait, really? How'd you heard about all this in your heart? Dell went silent for a moment, still surprised by this. He had no idea that he was actually in Devon's heart, or that he could even hear news like this in his heart. He then realized something, and spoke up. Wait, so, if you have me in your heart, does that mean you can use that to know where I am at all times, just by feeling it through your heart? Dell was still shocked by this information. He had no idea that Devon's heart had this much connection to him. Damn, I didn't think your heart would actually tell you where I was just by feeling it. Dell was quiet for a moment, thinking about this. Damn, I can't believe your heart can do that. It's pretty crazy. Dell was about to say something, but suddenly stopped himself, as a thought occurred to him. Um, I know this is a random question, but are you able to know what I'm thinking about with your heart? Dell was a bit embarrassed, and he started to laugh. Oh, yeah, of course it doesn't read minds, stupid me. Dell was still a bit embarrassed, but he couldn't help but laugh a little. Sorry, I just don't know much about how your heart even works, so I thought maybe it could read minds or something. Dell chuckled, before he seemed to think of something. Hey, wait a minute. If you can feel where I am through your heart, then I assume you'd be able to tell if I'm in danger too, right? Dell's expression grew into a slight look of concern. Oh, well, that's good, I guess. It's nice that you'd be able to help the both of us if we're in trouble. Dell went silent for a moment before he spoke up. Wait, so can you feel what we're both feeling through your heart? Like, if one of us is upset, would you be able to feel that through your heart too? Dell went silent. He couldn't help but give a soft smile from this. Heh, really? That sounds weirdly heartwarming, even if it does sound like it hurt your heart. Dell paused for a moment before he chuckled softly. Heh, guess that means we'll have to be careful not to cry and break your heart. Dell took a deep breath, his expression turning slightly more serious. So, your heart can basically do two main things. You can know where me and D are at all times by feeling it in your heart, and you can also know what we're both feeling too? Is that right? Dell nodded. He had a look of awe on his face. Damn, it's amazing how much connection you have to us just through your heart. It it's like it can tell you more about us than we can tell you ourselves. Dell chuckled softly and he smiled. Man, you have a weird but amazing heart, dude. It's honestly pretty cool. Dell nodded, but his expression turned slightly contemplative. But I have one more question. It's something I've been wondering about for a while. Dell hesitated for a moment before he spoke softly. I was wondering, do we have a spot in your heart? Dell was surprised by this answer. He wasn't really sure what to say at first. Really? You're you're sure that we both have a spot in your heart? Dell went silent for a moment, his expression showing a slight look of wonder. I see. Anyone can be in your heart if you get to know them. Dell was quiet for another moment or two before he spoke up again. That that's a very sweet thing to let yourself do. You've got such a great heart, dude. Dell chuckled softly, his expression still showing a look of awe. You're amazing, you know that? The way your heart lets you have so much connection and care for others is. It's just something else, dude. There was a moment of silence between the two of them before Dell spoke up again. Hey, can I just say? I really appreciate you for the way you care so much for others like that. Dell smiled, his expression seemed to show a sense of gratitude. Of course, dude. I'm glad I can call you a friend. Dell chuckled softly. A small smile was on his face. I'm glad I can be your friend, dude. You've been so amazing the whole time we've known each other. Dell's expression almost immediately turned into a look of realization. Um, I can't believe I just realized this. I forgot that I never saw Dot at all in that weird place we got taken to. I hope she's somewhere safe. Dell went into deep thought. The reminder of Dot not being there in that place was bothering him just a tiny bit. Damn it, I'm starting to worry about her now. Dell nodded quickly. Yes, please do. It's starting to worry me not knowing where she is right now. Suddenly, Dot was teleported to Dell's home, causing Dell to jump a bit in surprise. What the? Dell's eyes widened. Whoa, did you just teleport her here? Dell nodded, his expression still showed a bit of shock. Wow, that's really impressive. I keep forgetting how much you can do with that device of yours. Dell took a deep breath, still recovering from the sudden teleport. Um, Thanks for teleporting Dot here so I know she's safe. I was actually starting to get a bit worried, not knowing where she was. Dell nodded, his expression returned to normal. Yeah, you're right. I should probably hang up so I can talk to Dot now. Dell smiled, his expression back to its usual cheeriness. Bye! It was nice chatting with you, dude. Dell hung up the phone and placed it on the nearby table before Dell's expression immediately lit up the moment he saw her. He was relieved to see that she was alive and safe. Dot smiled, immediately noticing Dell looking her way. Hey, Dell. Dell looked at her with a mixture of concern and relief. Dot, where the hell have you been? I didn't see you anywhere in that weird place we got taken to, and I have been worried sick about you this whole time. Dot's eyes widened. She could tell Dell was genuinely concerned for her. I'm sorry, Dell. I didn't mean to worry you. I was separated from the both of you when we were taken, and I had no idea where you guys were. Dell looked somewhat relieved when he heard that, and he sighed. Well, at least you're here now. I was starting to worry that something bad had happened to you, considering I didn't see you in that place we were taken to. Dot nodded, her expression becoming more serious. Yeah, I was worried about the both of you as well. I'm just glad we're all together now. Dell nodded, his expression somewhat solemn. Yeah, but I just wish we didn't get taken to that weird place in the first place. It was pretty scary, not gonna lie. As Dell and Dot were catching up with each other, they were so. Dot shrugged, looking just as confused. Dell nodded in agreement. Yeah, you're right. Let's go see who it is. He motioned for Dot to follow him and he headed towards the front door. Dot followed close behind Dell, both of them curious as to who could be knocking on the door at this time of day. Dell reached the front door, his heart pounding slightly as he reached for the knob. He took a deep breath, then slowly opened the door. As the door creaked open, Dell and Dot peeked through to see who was standing on the other side. Standing on the other side of the door was a man. He was tall and lean, and seemed to be in his late 20s or early 30s. He wore a dark coat and a pair of glasses, hiding the majority of his face. He looked directly at Dell and Dot. His expression was intense and almost emotionless. Dell and Dot were both taken aback by the sudden appearance of the man. Dell spoke up, his voice slightly shaky. Can we help you? The man didn't respond at first. He simply stood there, his eyes fixed on Dell and Dot. After a few moments of silence, he finally spoke. His voice was cold and emotionless. I am looking for someone. I'm assuming you two have seen them. Dot and Dell exchanged confused glances. They had no idea who the man was looking for. Dell spoke up again, his voice still shaky. Who exactly are you looking for? The man's expression remained unchanged. He seemed to be studying them intently. I'm looking for a boy. A boy with dark skin and spiky hair. I've been told he lives here. Dell's eyes widened slightly as the man described the person he was looking for. He realized with a little horror that the man was describing him. Dot seemed to realize the same thing, her expression turning to slight fear. The man fixed his gaze on Dell, his eyes narrowing slightly. That's you, isn't it? You fit the description perfectly. Dell swallowed nervously, his heart pounding in his chest. Yeah, that's me, but what do you want with me? The man smirked slightly, his expression turning slightly menacing. Oh, that's not important. All that matters is that I've finally found you. He took a step forward, moving closer to Dell. Dell instinctively took a step backwards, intimidated by the man's presence. Wait! Stay back! I don't even know who you are. The man chuckled softly, amusement flashing in his eyes. Oh, you will know who I am soon enough. But first... In a swift motion, the man pulled out a small object from his coat, pointing it directly at Dell. Dell's eyes widened as he saw the object in the man's hand. A chill ran. The man's smirk grew wider as he held the object up for Dell to see. It appeared to be a syringe, already filled with an unknown substance. This here is a special little thing I like to call the tranquilizer. Dell felt his heart drop as he realized what the syringe was for. Wait a minute, you're not going to do that, do me, right? Right? The man chuckled again, his expression turning almost sinister. Oh, I most certainly am. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. Just as the man was about to make a move on Dell, a voice suddenly rang out from behind him. Hey! What the hell are you doing here? Both the man and Dell were startled as they turned to see who had interrupted. It was Devin. The man turned to face Devin, his expression hardening. Mind your own business, kid. This doesn't concern you. Devin's expression turned to anger, his fists clenching. The man's expression turned from anger to slight surprise as he saw the gun pointed at him. He raised his hands in a mockery surrender. Okay, okay, take it easy, kid. The man sneered, his voice filled with disdain. Because they're worthless wastes of space, that's why. They deserve to be taken away and disposed of. They're a liability to everyone around them. Devon's expression turned to disgust at the man's words. His grip. The man's expression remained cocky despite Devon's threats. You think you scaring me with that toy gun of yours? Ha! I'm not afraid of some kid with a fake gun. The man's cocky expression immediately turned to shock and pain as the bullet from the gun hit him. Ah, you bastard! He stumbled backwards, clutching his injured side, groaning in pain. Dot, Dee, and Dell, hearing Devon's order, wasted no time in dashing away from the man and running deeper into the house. The man tried to stumble after them, but the pain from the gunshot wound slowed him down significantly. Damn it! Come back here, you little brats! The man didn't even see the knife coming until it was too late. The blade sliced through his chest, causing him to let out a pained scream. Gah! Chow! The man clutched at his chest, blood seeping through his fingers. His expression was a mix of pain and disbelief. No, you can't do this to me. The man looked up at Devon, his expression turning furious. A show? Who cares about their stupid show? The man gritted his teeth, his expression turning angry again. You can't get away with this. The man let out another pained cry as the bullet from the pistol hit him, this time in the leg. He collapsed to the ground, clutching at his injured body. Ah, no, please, stop this! The man groaned in pain, blood now pooling around his body from the multiple gunshot wounds. Okay, I'll stop. Just please, stop shooting me. The man struggled to rise, his body racked with pain from the gunshot wounds. He slowly stumbled to his feet, wincing in pain with every movement. You win. Just let me go. The man took a few shaky steps towards the exit, each step sending waves of pain through his body. Okay. I'm leaving. Just don't shoot me again, please. The man limped out of the house, leaving a trail of blood behind him. He stumbled out into the night, disappearing from sight. Devon watched the man disappear into the night, a satisfied look on his face. D. Dot and Dell slowly emerged from hiding, their expressions still tinged with fear and adrenaline. Seeing Devon standing there, they cautiously approached him. Dee was the first to speak, her voice shaky but relieved. Is he gone? Dot nodded in agreement, looking shaken but grateful for Devon's intervention. Yeah, thank you for protecting us. We were so scared. Dee and Dot both gave Devon a small smile, still feeling the leftover fear from the encounter. Yeah, we're glad to have you on our side, Devon. There was a moment of silence before Dot spoke up, her tone hesitant. Hey, Devon, can I ask you something? Dot hesitated for a moment, shuffling her feet awkwardly. I just wanted to know, why did you go to such lengths to protect us? I mean, we barely even know you, and yet you put yourself in danger for our sake. Dot nodded, her expression turning grateful again. I understand that, but still, it was extremely brave of you to do what you did. We're lucky to have someone like you on our side. Dot and Dell nodded enthusiastically, their curiosity piqued. Yes, we'd love to know more about you. You have quite the story to tell, based on what we've seen so far. Dee and Dell's eyes widened in surprise. You like playing games and watching TV too? And you like PBS Kids? We do too. Dot and Dell both beamed at Devin, their excitement growing. That's so cool! We love meeting new people who enjoy the same things we do. What kind of games do you like to play? Dot and Dell looked at Devin in surprise. All types? You're quite the versatile gamer, aren't you? Dee and Dell exchanged a glance before Dee spoke up, a hint of admiration in her voice. That's impressive. What about TV shows? Do you have any favorites? Dell's face lit up at the mention of Curious George. You like Curious George? Me too. That little monkey always gets into trouble, but it's so entertaining to watch. Dee nodded in agreement. And Super Y is a great show too. The way they use reading as a way to solve problems is really clever. It's a really educational show. Dot also chimed in, her expression enthusiastic about TV shows. There are so many good shows on PBS Kids. I like Wildcrats. It's entertaining and teaches a lot about animals and nature. Dell and Dee both looked excited at the mention of Wildcrats. Dee clapped her hands together. No way, you like Wildcrats too? That show is one of my favorites. I love watching the Krat brothers go on their adventures and learn about animals' special powers. Dot joined in, her voice filled with excitement. And the animation is so good too. It's a great combination of entertainment and education. Plus, the characters are so likable. Martin and Chris always have some kind of crazy adventure. Dee's expression lit up at the mention of Word World. You know Word World too? That show is so clever. Everything in their world is made out of words, and every episode teaches the importance of language and vocabulary. I love the way they use wordplay to create stories and solve problems. Dell nodded in agreement, an excited expression on his face. Agreed. Word World is so great for developing language skills. Plus, the characters are adorable. I mean, a dog and cat made out of letters? How cool is that? Dot giggled, her eyes twinkling. Yeah, they are so cute. It's fun to see how the characters interact with each other and their environments. And the show is designed to teach young kids basic literacy skills, like letter recognition and sound symbol correspondence. Dee smiled, her expression proud. That's right! Dell and I are the star of PBS Kids. Without us, there would be no PBS Kids at all. Dell nodded in agreement, his expression solemn. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's also pretty awesome. We get to entertain and educate millions of kids across the country. It's a big job, but we love doing it. Dee's eyes widened in surprise at the mention of Dash Dash. You mean the kids show that was on PBS Kids in 1999? I remember watching that when I was really little. Dot nodded in agreement, her face turning nostalgic. Yeah, Dash was a really fun show. It was kind of like a science-based game show, right? The host would ask questions and kids would have to answer them to win prizes. I remember feeling so excited every time I watched it. Dee suddenly had an idea and her face lit up. Hey, you know what we should do? Dot giggled, immediately catching on to what Dee was planning. We should play a game! Dell's face split into a gigantic smile, his excitement matching Dot and Dee's. Heck yeah! What kind of game should we play? Dot thought for a moment, her eyes scanning the room, before an idea seemed to pop into her head. Oh, I know. How about hide and seek? Dee frowned at the mention of Sonic.exe. Yikes, maybe not hide and seek then. Not if we don't want to get murdered by some creepy exe. Dell nodded in agreement, his expression turning thoughtful. Yeah, we should probably steer clear of any games that have a chance of someone getting murdered. Dot and Dee looked saddened by the announcement, their faces falling. Wait, you're leaving now? Dee and Dell's expressions brightened at the clarification. Oh, okay. So you're not leaving entirely? Just stopping the recordings for YouTube? Dot and Dell looked a little sad again, their faces tinged with disappointment. Why are you stopping the recordings? We really enjoy watching them. Dee and Dell exchanged a look before both nodding in understanding. Oh, okay. So we can still watch your recordings on your YouTube channel. That makes sense. We'll definitely subscribe. Dee and Del looked a bit sad at the thought of saying goodbye to YouTube, but they mustered up a cheerful expression. Bye, YouTube! Thanks for all the fun videos we've been able to watch on your platform.